Vice has looked into what started out as an anonymous Reddit thread involving a victim of a mass shooting who alleged that his father believed that he was part of a false flag operation. Vice confirmed that this was actually real. We are not going to name the person involved out of respect for this person's privacy, but we have more details. So it is a survivor of the Parkland shooting that took place. And he says that his father is just absolutely convinced because of the conspiracy theories he reads and consumes online that it was a false flag and that his own son is involved in it. Here's what Bill, the anonymous Parkland student, said. He'll say stuff like this straight to my face whenever he's drinking. You're a real piece of work to be able to sit here and act like nothing ever happened if it wasn't a hoax. Shame on you for being part of it and putting your family through it too. So how did this start? Well, he wrote that anything that contradicted my father's feelings was wrong. So he turned to the internet to find like-minded people, which led him to QAnon. Bill's father saw a video of Georgia Representative Marjory Taylor Greene harassing Parkland survivor David Hogg in 2018. Ever since then, Bill's father has become convinced the shooting his son survived was a so-called false flag event and that the shooter was a radical commie actor. From there, it snowballed into what he is today, believing that if the government is able to overthrow an election, then everything else is probably a lie too.
Yeah, so there's so many parts of the story that are really, really interesting and unfortunately devastating. So look, your own kid gets involved in a shooting. I don't know if the father went to the funeral of all the kids who died. 9 of them were in his son's class, okay? But afterwards, propaganda works. And the way the propaganda works is they appeal to your emotions rather than your logic. And once they've got you by the emotions, you're done. So he doesn't even believe his own son. He thinks his own son's a crisis actor. You can't get any more lunatic than that, right? But by the way, people who are QAnon or other conspiracy theorists that are watching this will turn around and go, well, maybe he knows best. Because they take whatever happens and twist it into their own reality. Right? And they become more and more convinced as they go down that rabbit hole. I mean, look, the power of propaganda, I told you about it before. Fox News has brainwashed, obviously, millions of people in this country, but including an uncle of mine who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 when Donald Trump was talking about banning Muslims. My uncle is Muslim. He wanted to ban himself, okay? That's how powerful propaganda is. Now, of course, he doesn't perceive it that way. He thinks, no, it won't apply to me. And that's why we did those stories, if you remember, right after the 2016 election, when Trump started kicking out immigrants in the country, in Indiana, in Ohio, and so many places. They were like, well, I didn't think they were gonna kick out Jose. Jose's a great guy, we all love him, he's in our church, he's in our community. But yeah. we know he didn't have a green card, but he was working on getting one. We didn't think it was gonna apply to him. There's even landowners in Texas, their own land gets cut off by Trump's wall, and they're like, well, we didn't think it was gonna apply to us. We thought they were gonna build it on other parts of the border.
One of my favorite stories was a woman whose husband was deported after Trump was elected. And she's like, she voted for Trump. She's like, wait, but I didn't think that they were gonna deport my husband. I mean, it's my husband. My husband's okay. It's just all of those other undocumented immigrants. I thought they were gonna be the ones deported. I mean, yeah, people don't really care unless it touches them and their lives. But in this case, we're talking about a mass shooting that impacted his own son's life.
And devastated the kid, right? I mean, he still has massive issues about it. He writes about it. Like the shooter wore a burgundy shirt. Whenever he sees a burgundy shirt, he has a natural reaction, right? And so, but now his dad doesn't believe any of it because the power of propaganda. And so the one part of it is emotions. Once you appeal to their emotions, they're not listening to you anymore on logic. And it took me a long time to really understand that, because I like to think that I'm a person who cares more about logic. So I had a hard time relating to people who don't care about logic, who just act based on emotions. And they just genuinely, like, I know that they think they care about the facts, but they've lost the thread. It's your son. You know he's not an actor. What is wrong with you?
So
right?
what exactly, what I would like to understand with false flag operation allegations in various instances, right? Whether it be, chemical weapons attacks, or in this case, we're talking about mass shootings.
Or the Las Vegas shooting.
Or the Las Vegas shooting, which I recently learned some people that I didn't expect also think that that's a false flag operation. But anyway, that's beside the point. No, like, okay.
You should look up who that is.
Jimmy Dore. But why? Why? Like, why would there be a hoax mass shooting? What is the goal of that? To pass gun control? Because that doesn't ever happen. And then what, all of those dead bodies and all of that blood and all of that evidence of the mass shooting taking place, was that all pretend? Like, was it ketchup? Like, it doesn't really take much to just keep that logic train going. Like, just keep thinking about it, right? Is this particular father more willing to just not believe his son and believe random people online? His son experienced it firsthand. His son has been traumatized by it. He witnessed his own classmates get slaughtered in that school. Why would his son be a crisis actor? For what? What does he get out of that?
Yeah.
What does he get out of that? I want to know.
But by the way, if you're still pretending to be a left winger and you're peddling right-wing conspiracy theories, again, you should check yourself to see if you actually are, or the audience should check you. Anyways, now, look, the other part of this story is the bell curve. And as different cults form online now, as media is now basically, it used to be we had Walter Cronkite and a couple of anchors and that was it, and we all had a shared opinion. By the way, some of the former presidents, Dwight Eisenhower, who was a Republican, John F. Kennedy, who was a Democrat, were enormously popular because we all share the same media. And for better or for worse, the media was centrist, and so that had a lot of problems too, don't get me wrong, right? But now as the media not disintegrates, but becomes more individualized, different cults are forming. And don't get me wrong, the mainstream media is a form of a cult, where they get you to believe, oh, the centrist position is the correct position. It's the corporate position is the objective position. Status quo is wonderful, and they brainwash people in that direction. But this form of brainwashing affects some portion of the bell curve. Remember, not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody has the same level of intelligence or emotional control, etc. So for some portion of that spectrum or that bell curve, it's really easy to trick them. And so they're getting huge percentage of the country to believe completely nonsensical things, even if it affects them personally, because it turns out cults are super easy to form as long as you press that emotion button, whether it's right wing or a small sliver of the left wing.
I wish I knew more about Bill. Obviously, that's the pseudonym. And I just wish I knew that he was out of his parents' house, because going through that kind of trauma is hard enough. Living with a parent who refuses to validate that you went through something traumatic is a billion times worse. Because they're the people closest to you, it's supposed to be your support system. I know that that's not the case for a lot of people, but in this particular case, like, I just feel my heart goes out to him. I hope he's living in a safer environment and doesn't have to deal with his father like this on a daily basis.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.